Hello, thank you for your company this Thursday evening. First tonight, an independent inquiry has been launched into one of the most violent days of the year-long miners' strike. The inquiry will examine clashes between police and miners outside the Orgreave coking works in Rotherham on the 18th of June 1984. It's something campaigners have spent decades calling for. The inquiry has the power to compel witnesses and require the disclosure of evidence, and it will be independent of government. In a moment, we'll speak to the chair of the inquiry, but first, my colleague Mark Ansell is at the former Orgreave site for us tonight. Mark.
Yes, Phil, it's been more than 4 decades since the so-called Battle of Orgreave took place here on the outskirts of Rotherham. 4 decades in which the thousands of miners who were picketing that day have been demanding the truth to come out. I've been looking back at that day 42 years on. It's considered to be one of the most violent episodes in British industrial history. Miners from across Britain were picketing the Orgreave coking plant in Rotherham in June 1984, hoping to disrupt supplies leaving the site. They were met with force by thousands of police officers.
A gap opened in the ranks and the horses galloped in.
More than 100 people were injured. There were 95 arrests. This will forever be remembered as the Battle of Orgreave. The case against the arrested miners collapsed in court due to allegations that South Yorkshire Police had falsified evidence.
You could see the police with the long batons.
Former North Derbyshire miner Steve Brunt was at Orgreave during the miners' strike.
We saw the lorries come. We all got up to have a push. It was like a ritual. But all of a sudden, the lines of police opened up and they came through. First of all, a hit squad with round shields, wielding the batons. And if that wasn't enough, a parade of horses on horseback with long batons. It was extremely frightening.
Steve, what's your reaction to the news that the public inquiry into Orgreave has finally started?
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and the Labour government have at last done that and brought this inquiry forward. I think it's brilliant news because the lessons that learned from that and from that inquiry need to be learnt, need to be taken forward, and this cannot be allowed to happen again.
Orgreave is a very different place now. Thousands of homes have been built where the coking works once stood. But for those who remember the chaos of 42 years ago, they'll be hoping today is one step closer to the truth of what happened that day coming to light. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North.
Well, earlier I spoke to the chair of the inquiry, the Bishop of Sheffield, the Right Reverend Dr. Pete Wilcox, and asked him what the inquiry would cover.
Yes, so the inquiry, which is launched today, is intended to help us to create a comprehensive, accurate, evidence-based report of what led up to events at Orgreave on the 18th of June 1984 and in the aftermath, what governed the prosecutions and the failure of those prosecutions in the months following. And my hope is that this record will allow us to provide answers to some of the deep questions which people across South Yorkshire feel are unresolved at the moment.
And what form does it take? Is it held in a building? Where is it being held, and who can take part?
Well, anyone can take part, and they can take part as of today, because today we're launching our call for evidence. And we will be asking organisations and individuals who hold documentary evidence relating to events at Orgreave to provide those to the inquiry. But we also want to hear stories of those who were involved at the time. And we're urging any members of the public who might want to put their story of their experience of Orgreave on the record to contact us via the Orgreave Inquiry website, where they will be able to put their evidence as a contribution to the inquiry.
I suppose for our younger viewers, anybody under the age of 40 may be wondering why on earth we're conducting an inquiry 42 years after an event.
My day job as Bishop of Sheffield means that I have a pastoral responsibility for very many former pit villages and mining communities. And I know, because I've heard them speak to me about this, how deeply they are still impacted by the disruption of the miners' strike in the mid-1980s, of which Orgreave was a kind of symbolic, iconic event. And my aim as chair of the inquiry is to help to resolve that continuing trauma.
This is something many people have called for over 4 decades. Many questions. Do you think they'll get the answers they're looking for?
I very much hope so. So because this is a statutory public inquiry, we will have powers to compel. That means we'll have access to information which is not yet in the public domain, documents which are embargoed or restricted for access. It will also mean that we will be able to compel witnesses. We will be able to force people to come and tell their story and provide their evidence to the inquiry. That gives us the best possible chance, even 40 years on, of providing the answers that so many are wanting to find.
Briefly, a lot of evidence to get through, a lot of testimonies to hear, no doubt. How long do you anticipate this inquiry will last?
Well, the terms of reference are quite clear, and they give an indication that we might expect to report within 2 years of today. And that's not unrealistic, and of course it does mean that this inquiry can deliver value for money too.
OK, Dr Wilcox, many thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much indeed.
So crucially, what do the Orgreave Truth and Justice campaigners make of today's announcement? Well, Mark Ansell is with some of them now in Rotherham. Mark, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Phil. First of all, Kate, what do you make of the inquiry? Do you have confidence in it?
Well, we do have confidence in it, providing that the people who are conducting the inquiry, that is the panel and the chair, and they've all got very good credentials, look at the relevant information, the documents, the embargoed documents, the copies of destroyed documents. They get all that relevant information out for the inquiry so that they can examine it very closely.
Chris, what do you hope will come out of the inquiry?
Well, for over 40 years, miners were lied about by the police, lied about by the government, had to stand trial, which fell apart because of the unfeasibility and then the falsification of evidence. We're hoping for the first time that they are able to tell their stories and it to be accepted as a true narrative, not the false one that has been put out previously by the government and amplified by the press, the government of the day.
And what about the panel? Do you think that it's the right people leading this, including the Bishop of Sheffield?
I think, you know, they've got a big job on their hands. We hope very much that they go wherever the evidence takes them. There's a lot to go through, but we hope very, very much that they will be able to pull all that together and, importantly, hear in a way that is inclusive to a lot of the miners, because people are getting older now, but done in an inclusive way so that the miners' voices are at the forefront of this inquiry.
Any celebrating tonight because you've achieved this, or is it just the start of the process? Kate?
This is just the start of the process. We have talked about celebrations, but it is very, very early days. We need to see how it all pans out. There is a lot of evidence, though, already in the public domain that needs drawing and pulling together, and we do feel confident about that evidence because that evidence will be aired properly. A lot of people aren't aware of the current evidence that already exists, and that's going to be articulated, we hope, in a professional way.
OK, Kate and Chris, thank you very much indeed. We'll be watching this one very closely and updating you on the Orgreave inquiry on Look North. Back to you, Phil.
Mark in Rotherham, thank you very much.